So let's get ready with me. So Julius Marlow sent me a beautiful pair of shoes, and we're gonna try and style. If you look at the shoes, they have some amazing, beautiful detailing. Shoes consist of primarily a black color, but they have some beautiful brand red tones towards the bottom. So I think I'm gonna try and kind of style around that. All right, to get us just kind of started, we're just gonna start off with these beautiful wide leg oversized black dress pants. Because the shoe is predominantly black, I reckon these would go beautifully with it, and I think we can just kind of work around these. One of the first questions I got asked was, what is fashion to me? I believe fashion is obviously quite different to everybody, and everybody will interpret it different and will do fashion for different reasons. But for myself, fashion's a language. It's a language with no tongue. A language that allows you to communicate from person to person, whether you understand each other through words. I predominantly used fashion, again, as a means to communicate. It was one of those things that I kind of went to see that if I dress well enough, it will bring attention to myself and kind of initiate and allow for conversation. So growing up being very introverted and kind of shy and timid, fashion allowed me to communicate, connect with people without having to say a single word. Simply by just dressing nice, it allowed somebody to kind of compliment the outfit or compliment the piece, and through that I was able to initiate convo and just kind of get conversation around why I wore what I wore and I don't know why I pieced the pieces I pieced together. And I think after that it became quite obvious that fashion was my language, my way to communicate without having to say too much. And I feel as if I also went to get that idea and mindset from my mother, because she always teached just kind of presenting yourself quite presentable in a sense, because she believed that the world will go to judge you based on pretty much how you present yourself and how you appear. So for church, you always had to be so dapper and clean. So since then, I've just kind of been presenting myself the best way that I could, and as close to as raw as authentic to my original self. I think that's how I go to dress, and that's how I see fashion. All right, we're just gonna follow it up with just a basic oversized white dress shirt. I think I'm gonna go for the oversized look because one, the pants are oversized, and I think it's gonna be just a good addition and a good complement to everything. What are my style inspirations? The thing is with my style, it's quite somewhat all over the place. I was told I'm somewhat like a chameleon in the sense that I'm able to camouflage in whatever style I wish, wear whatever and kind of make it work. So my style inspo predominantly, I'm pretty much inspired by everything and anything. I'm heavily inspired by my mood that day, that morning. I'm inspired by the people that I go to run into that day, or the places that I go. And I'm inspired by nature and just the world around me, like the architectural structure of some buildings, or I see an outfit within the building and I'm able to somewhat bring that to life. My style is inspired by a bit of everything, because why limit yourself? What I'm gonna do is just gonna go ahead and tuck this in to just kind of keep it clean, as always. It's nice and simple, especially for a look like this. And I reckon I'm just gonna keep it like this, no belt, because I think it's just that little bit cleaner like this. What I'm gonna do next is just add a tie. No, that's a lie. Next, I'm just gonna add this beautiful blazer, which has some nice dark elements which will complement the shoe and the whole silhouette. And that's just the whole idea of the outfit, but it has some beautiful green, brown, and red tones, which will go to complement those little accents on the shoe. So I think I'm gonna go ahead with this, and I think steadily just build my way from this and add a little bit of color. The next question was surrounded around, where do I get my poetry inspiration from? Inspiration for my poetry it's one of those things that kind of jumps out of nowhere. It's one of those things that just pops into my head and I just kind of put it down. But obviously a lot of those thoughts are influenced through just life experiences and just a lot of the tough and challenging situations I've go through over the last couple of years, and just my childhood in general, because my poetry stemmed from journaling. I used to journal a lot, still do, but now it's in a more poetic manner. I used to just journal here and there, just kind of write down whatever I was feeling, whatever I was going through, whether I had an achievement, whether school was hard, just kind of whatever it was, because the majority of my poems would just kind of randomly pop into my head, and instantly I'm like, I gotta write that down. So I pull out my phone and I jot anything that I can, and then later when I get home, I'll have the time. There's this little black poetry book that I carry everywhere. I'll find it, write a little of my poems in here, but also just jot down and roll down whatever that kind of comes to mind. Here and there, I'll write down something and then kind of write a picture to go hand in hand with it, a poem to go hand in hand with it. This little book is definitely my pride and joy, it is. But yeah, late home, but a lot of us kind of fear the idea of putting that into the world. So I do that in hopes that somebody can see that and be like, oh wow, I relate to that. I'll write something, but it could be quite personal and it could be something that I'm dealing with at that time, and because of that, I'm not gonna share that poem. But give it 2-3 months down the line when I feel as if I've conquered that moment, that instance, and that poem, and that feeling, I'll somewhat fine-tune it and then just throw it out into the world and see if anybody can relate. And I don't know, it might help somebody out. All right, what I'm gonna do is just add this beautiful brown tie with these green and white accents onto it. I reckon it's gonna complement the vest piece quite well, but also the shoes. Again, a little detailing, the detailing that matters. Next question is surrounded around, did I always want to do fashion or get into modeling? And the short answer is no. Mainly because I wasn't aware that doing fashion or modeling was even an option or an idea that one could entertain, because I grew up in rural country Victoria. That's where I spent a large portion of my kind of childhood and teen years. So growing up in places like that, you're very isolated, so you don't understand or know the resources that are kind of out there. You're closed off to what you know, in a sense. And I think around the ages of 12, 13, like 13, 14, I really tapped into social media. That's when I kind of stumbled across fashion and styling. I started to curate a couple of fits here and there. I was taking fit pics at like 13, 14, just trying to see what I can make and what I could do. Yeah, but it wasn't until I moved to Melbourne that I realized that fashion is a thing. And modeling is also like, it's a thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, it's something you could actually do. Like that idea never crossed my mind. I was very much on the sidelines when I first moved to Melbourne in terms of like the creative scene. The outside watching it and just seeing what the world is like, how the creatives here work, and what it means to be creative and how to express yourself, and how will people kind of take that, how take you and accept you. But yeah, most definitely did not always want to do fashion or modeling, but once I got around the right environment that was able to kind of facilitate that, it allowed me to realize that it's something that I do love and want to do for the rest of my life if I can. I reckon we're gonna go ahead and just top it off with this beautiful patent blazer. And I love these colors because they match or complement the vest quite well along with the shoe itself. So we're just gonna try this on and see how that works. The next question was around which one of my creative outlets is one of my favorites. For those who are unaware, I obviously have a fair few creative outlets. I don't know, it's hard to pick, but if I had to narrow it down, I'd say that's a tough one. I think right now, my art and fashion, like styling, are like top right now. Yeah. I think art and like styling, fashion / creative direction, I think top in terms of like my favorite creative outlets. But obviously if I had to narrow it down to one, I think I'd say fashion, because it's going to open up a lot more doors for myself recently on the past year or so. So I definitely would place that on a pedestal. Next question is one saying that I kind of live by. Well, since I kind of started utilizing fashion as a language in a sense, seeing it as a fashion and using it to express myself, I live by this saying that goes, I don't know where it's from, but it's stuck with me. I don't know if I made it up or if I saw it somewhere and it just kind of stuck. But it's, life is a fashion show and the world is your runway. And I embody that so much, because I leave my house every day with an outfit that I'm somewhat very, very proud of and proud to show the world. So, and the world is your runway, and I walk through the world as if it's my runway. Strut through every street. I don't know, just move with confidence. I feel as if confidence can take you a long way. This is what we're looking like so far, and I really do like this. It's quite elegant, sleek, quite more on the simple side, but it's very clean, I'd like to say. Well, I'd like to think. So what's left is to accessorize, and with this one I think I'm just gonna keep it more on the clean side, simple, slick, nothing too bulky on top of it, to just allow it to flow and allow the shoes to just do their thing. Just
stand out there. And yeah.
So I reckon what I'm gonna do is just add some rings. It's one of those things that elevates the fit quite well, especially these gold and green color rings. Complements this blazer and shoe combo quite well. Alright, so final question was, what's one advice I would give somebody that's wanting to come onto the creative scene or the fashion scene? And honestly, I think one of the biggest things that allowed me to progress as far or as quick as I did, it was just the idea of putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, like actually uncomfortable situations, and just allowing yourself to realize that that situation is uncomfortable, but you gotta try and make the most out of it. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, like actually being uncomfortable. Thank you for tuning in if you stayed for this part of the video. I hope you did go enjoy the little get ready with me and the little insight into my life and who I am. Obviously, if you'd like to know more, ask as many questions as possible, and I'm gonna try to drop one of these videos at least once a week, just to give you guys a bigger insight into who I am and what I do and what I like. And I reckon I'll call that a fit. Thank you.